Yo, what's up, guys? This is going to be a brief film study. It's kind of like, up-and-coming prospects, and we're going to kind of go over the skills and stuff of this fighter. His name is Kid Galahad, and I've heard his name a few times. I think he runs in Kell Brook's circle. Might have trained up the side of the same gym out of him. I'm not sure. I don't know too much about this kid, but I've heard his name a few times, and this guy, his name is James. He sent me a link to this video on Daily Motion. And when I had Googled him before, I hadn't been able to find any videos on him. So I was just like, okay, whatever, he's not big time, or this isn't that. Maybe he's just not that good. Maybe this isn't that. But when I saw this video, I was super excited. Actually, he just sent me a message today, too, kind of telling me a little bit about his history and how he's grown and changed as a fighter, and how he's much better now, and his fights are less competitive because he has so much more skill. But I was really excited that he sent me another message today, because I was actually thinking about doing this video today. So it's actually the 5th time I'm recording this. I've been interrupted a ton of times, so I've already made it halfway through the round and seen some crazy stuff. But prior to seeing the first half of this round, or the first minute of the round, I haven't watched it. So we're going to be doing most of this pretty live. Going over his skills, just watching real quick. And there are a couple of things that I noticed right off the bat that are really interesting, and I remember we'll go over it. But this kid is straight fucking fire. This guy is so fucking talented. I don't know how old he is, but let's go ahead and get into the fight. Super clean. I'm a big fan, man. I like this kid already. So immediately, what do we notice? He comes out orthodox, right? His opponent is also orthodox, but notice how he touches the jab, right, like a catch, right? And when I was boxing, when I was young, I watched a lot of fucking boxing, man. I had no idea how to get better, because my coach, he literally couldn't teach me jack shit about boxing, I didn't understand how to set my punches up. I didn't know any techniques. And whenever we would work on the mitts, we would work on the same fucking things, the same few combinations, He worked a full-time job. He had another full-time job. He ran a gym. He worked 24/7, so he was always tired. And he also trained me for free. Let's not get that twisted. He was real good to me. He trained me for free, paid for all my gear. He paid to enter me into tournaments. He'd take me out to clubs and shit. He'd take me out to bars, although I didn't drink. He was real good to me, but I think he was just too tired, to teach boxing, And so one of these things that I learned when I watched Fernando Vargas, and I can't remember who he was fighting. It might have been Trinidad. Could have been anybody, man. I loved watching Fernando Vargas, that fucking roid freak. But man, that guy looked so fucking massive. But that was one interesting thing that he had, a skill that I picked up on, because I didn't think about him as being a boxer, right? There were so many connotations about what boxing was and was not, and who was a boxer and who was a puncher. And for what I've grown to learn throughout all these years, no matter what your style is, you're a fucking boxer. Don't let anybody say, oh, he's a boxer puncher. He's a boxer. He's a puncher. He's a counter puncher. These are all boxing skills. They are boxers, and they have skills that are, they're delineated throughout their spectrum of craft, right? But the skills that they use to set up their punches are real craft and real boxing. And one of the ones that I loved about Fernando Vargas was that he would always catch the jab and shoot his own jab. Something that you see Gennady Golovkin do now. And he does it with such great effect. But Fernando Vargas was the first person that I learned to do that. And I always, after that, assumed that you always caught your opponent's jab with your backhand so you could counter and catch him with your own shot, right? But in this instance, I don't really like that he's extending his backhand so far to touch his opponent's jab, right? That was when I did my first go through here. That was the first thing that really kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, I watched a few minutes of a minute of the round before, and then I stopped so I could do a live viewing. But that was one thing that caught my attention earlier today when I started doing this breakdown initially, is that you want to control your opponent's lead hand with your lead hand. But what I didn't realize is that, and I talked about it, I was like, oh man, maybe he's just setting him up for something, and he is. This is his first little trap right here. So anyway, getting back into the round, again, touching his opponent's jab with touching his opponent's jab with his right hand again, right? Then going back, controlling him, touching him with the jab right there, right? Being real patient, and then kind of throwing like a kind of throwaway jab, gets his opponent to bend down, and then comes up with this beautiful uppercut, you know, and the angle is not super conducive to being able to tell if it lands or not, but that's not the point, right? Show him this and give him that, right? And while he doesn't exactly know how his opponent is going to react to it, you know, it's kind of a very low level feint, right? But he gets his opponent out of position and he's able to land that shot. But what he does that makes up for the fact that he puts himself in a little bit of danger, immediately controls his opponent's head. Just beautiful. And a fighter that's this young, right? This young in their career, being able to do that. So anyway, throws the right hand. His opponent wisely gets under it. And what does he do? He controls his opponent's head again, throws a body shot, and then goes back to controlling his head again with the other hand that he was just controlling. He just turned him out from his left side and turned him out to the right side. Just beautiful boxing. And 15 seconds into the fight, you know, he's shown so many high-level things, you know, for the defensive, like his ability to control his opponent defensively, and it's just brilliant, you know, I love it. Big fan so far. And then goes from there, and look at this, this is really interesting, because he came into it right-handed, right? And then he throws that, and now he's southpaw, right? He just changed position, and he doesn't change back, he doesn't have to reset like his opponent has to, right? Stops and resets in the middle of the ring, he's like, oh shit, we're going already, you know. At this point, by the way, I want to talk about how this is where Vasily Lomachenko, a fighter who understands positioning and doesn't really, you know, give you a lot of opportunities to get back into it. This is what he spends his whole round trying to do, is get you out of position. Vasily Lomachenko would be attacking him right now, right? Kid Galahad, I guess he's a nicer guy than Vasily. He's like, okay, you ready? You ready to fight now? But if he could, you know, step it up a little bit in that spot, you know, it would make him look a lot more like Vasily Lomachenko, right? That crazy pressure, you know. But anyway, comes in with the left hand, or in the left-handed stance, and beautifully, right, gives him a feinted jab, lands a body shot, kinda, his opponent kind of blocks it and goes down, and then immediately goes back upstairs with the jab and starts controlling him with the lead hand, right? Touching him, not hard punches, but his opponent's completely out of position and not prepared for to fight a left-handed fighter, right? But also beautiful, when he shoots that left hand, look at how he steps and he changes the angle on his opponent, right? And now his opponent is basically straight square with him, and he's able to just throw punches at him, you know, and his opponent's completely out of position. You know, really good footwork, really good control of his opponent so far. You know, I'm a big fan. Touching his glove, touching his glove, touching his glove. And I like how he touches his glove and then feints low, right? And gets him to bring his glove down, touches his glove, and then instead of feinting low, goes over the top of the glove touch and catches him with the jab. Ooh, none right there. They're touching gloves, and then he shoots a straight left hand. Really interesting, right? That's something that Kell Brook does, and that's probably something that he's learning from them. And this is like an example of a trap, right? So like traps in boxing are like there's one of my viewers who's talking about it specifically, how he wants to incorporate traps into his own boxing style. A trap is anytime you make your opponent think you're going to do one thing, and you condition them to learn that, and then you change it on them. So what he does here, touching glove, and he goes to touch gloves, and he shoots the straight left hand instead, right? And he's setting a trap for his opponent. He's getting him complacent, right? And you can set any kind of trap that you want. You know, you can do the very Mayweather-esque one where you're constantly jabbing to the body and then jabbing to the head and getting them to bring their hands down and be worried about the jab, and then you explode out of your guard with those jabs to get your opponent conditioned to it, and then instead of using a jab, you use a leading left hook, you know, or a leaping left hook in the same fashion that you throw your jab, and then you catch your opponent off guard. You know, Canelo does it. I think that what's his name? Keith Thurman tries to do it. I'm not sure if he sets his up as much with the jab or not, as much as he does just using the leading left hook, and the fact that he's fast and powerful, so his opponent tries to respect the jab. But this is an example of like another trap. And then immediately after missing, right, he kind of touches him with it, and then he controls his head again. His opponent's not able to counter, and he comes over the top. Now, we don't have like a good look of everything that's going on in the corner, but one thing we do see his forearm on his opponent's neck. You know, dirty, you know, maybe it's a little excessive, but he's not getting punched in the face, and that's the important part. He's not getting knocked out. His opponent's not able to come up with his headbutt when he ducks the punch. His opponent's not able to attack him or do anything, and that's what's important. You know, I had another viewer who's, you know, started with me in the channel. We've kind of like not been on so good terms because he gets a little angry sometimes, and I just don't feel like dealing with it. But I talked about how if I were training a fighter, I would teach them to do the same thing, you know. And it's interesting because he said that I would perpetuate it and become part of the problem, right? But problems like this don't usually wind up getting solved until they get so wildly out of hand that everyone's aware of them. And instances like that, you know, controlling your opponent, you know, making sure that you don't get hit or headbutted, right? Like Vasily Lomachenko, he's very popular for doing that. He did that in the Sosa fight as well as the Walters fight, where his opponent would duck down and he would put his arm on top of his head to stop him from coming up with his head, and also to stop them from bending below the waist, right? So you use one dirty move to negate another dirty move. But there are no second chances in boxing, right? And that's why I kind of think that, you know, doing those kinds of things, it's okay, you know? Like, what the fuck is Sergey Kovalev gonna do now, right? He got, you know, arguably robbed in the first fight, and in the second fight, his opponent, you know, that was a great right hand that Andre Ward landed. Sure, I give him that, you know. I thought he could have stopped the fight. He could have ended the fight without the low blows. I think he was well on his way to getting him. Like everyone said, he was gassing, but he did get low blowed, right? And he did get a couple of headbutts, but nobody's crying foul anymore, right? Nobody's saying, oh man, I still have Sergey Kovalev undefeated. Nobody gives a shit. Sergey Kovalev has 2 losses on his record. There's no do-overs. So I think that, you know, you got to take those advantages, and you have to take those opportunities and control your opponent when you can. You know, don't necessarily be dirty, but protect yourself. You know, use these rules and do those things. I'm sorry about that little rant that I went on like for 5 fucking minutes and no video and shit. But anyway, that's why I don't fault people for doing those things. You don't get do-overs. Nobody, you know, a month after the fight, nobody gives a shit anymore. But back to Kid Galahad. Again, going back to catching his jab, right? And his opponent is giving him a rhythm, right? And he's picking up on it. He's able to know when his opponent's going to be jabbing, and he's catching all those jabs. Very active in his guard. And again, interesting craft, right? Goes low and then comes high with the uppercut. You know, I don't think it lands right there. But setting his opponent up for something, right? And then goes immediately controlling his head. Very active guard, a lot of pressure. And look at how close he is to his opponent. And like all the pressure that you feel from Kid Galahad, like let's just look at these next 20 seconds, right? He's all over him, you know? The guy can't get any breathing room. He's not allowed to think. Kid Galahad is pushing him back, you know? And he's not throwing a lot of punches, you know? Very Vasily Lomachenko-like, you know? He's got a lot of experience, a lot of skill, and setting up his punches, controlling his opponent's head really well. Beautiful control over his head. And then I think this is the part where I figured it out. Again, touches his jab, right? After touching gloves with him, right? Catching his jab with his backhand, which I'm not a big fan of, catches him with another jab. And then right there is where he first does it. His first time where his opponent shoots the jab, he doesn't touch with it, and he goes and gives him a counter right hand over the top because his opponent thinks he's going to touch gloves again, right? And again, right? Catches his jab with his jab, bats it down, catches him with another counter, right? Beautiful boxing at tossing that down. And when I first made this video, I made like an interesting point, and I kind of want to go back to it just real quick. The interesting thing about him coming out of Kell Brook's gym is that something that Kell Brook does too, you know, touching the glove, you know, and then shooting another punch, right? So here he does it here, boom, touch gloves, and then he fakes the touching of the gloves, right? Makes him think he's gonna touch gloves, and then boom, catches him with the big left hand, you know, or, you know, a cross, you know. I know I'm gonna get him mixed up, left hand and right hand, but catching him with a power shot after setting a trap, right? Giving him a consistent pattern so that his opponent can pick up on it, and then changing the pattern to capitalize it into landing a scoring blow. And that's all the goal is when you're fighting somebody. So anybody who's thinking about traps, it's a lot of work to land one punch. You know, you don't just go in there and start throwing punches. You have to set everything up. You have to work hard. Being in the ring is it's no easy task. You know, boxing is not for dummies. You know, and you really want to have a high-level craft like this where you're constantly setting up shots and just being, you know, there can be simple stuff like this. Like, look how simple this is, right? Touch glove, and then he fakes the touch glove and then catches him with the left hand, you know? And that was the whole goal. You know, he's put in a lot of work to land that one punch. And that's exactly how you want to approach boxing. You put in a lot of work to land one punch. Anyway, I guess I won't make the Smitty comment. I won't talk about it, but we'll just move on because I didn't realize I'm like 16 minutes in and we've only got 1 minute into this. But giving him the lead hand control, and look at how tentative his opponent is, you know, and he's just feinting, waiting for his opponent to get out of position, and then as soon as he does, right, shoots a jab at him. So much going on. Touches his glove and then goes down to the body, and his opponent ducks down, out of position again. Great eyes. He's able to see him and then catch him with that left uppercut. And then again, beautifully controlling his head, right, so that he can't mount any sustained offense back. Beautiful boxing. This guy's he's a talent, man. This guy's really good. You know, and so young in his career. Shooting the jab, his opponent slip it, but he's not even in position. And then after he shoots that, really interesting, right? Shoots the right hand and then controls his head with the same right hand, right? And switches position, you know. Really good boxing. Again, not putting on a lot of pressure, but he doesn't have to be really active and put himself in a lot of danger to do it. But here, I can't really see what's going on. This is a bad camera angle. Can't see what his opponent's doing anyway. But really active. You know, I like this kid. I think he's much better than I thought he would have been when I'll talk to you, James, real quick, when you were suggesting that he could be fighting Guillermo Rigondeaux. And I think that Vasily Lomachenko is going to get to Rigondeaux before this guy does. But it would be a good fight. Anyway, controlling his head right here after he comes in. Lands kind of a right hand, you know, a little, you know, I don't say dirty, you know, but, you know, do what you can, you know, you're getting away with it. Are you being a part of the problem? I don't know. You're also not getting headbutted, you're not getting knocked out, and you're not giving your opponent, you know, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to cry when you lose. Anyway, goes for that same shot, right? And his opponent counters him, you know. He doesn't really set the jab up this time. Explodes into his guard. Even though he lands it, he gets caught with a shot. But he knows after the right hand that the left hook is coming, and it looks like he blocks it pretty well. So, good experience. Again, I love that. Touches glove, and then shoots another jab off the touch. Again, beautiful. He's in the left hand stance. And then now he peppers him with it. He shows him two jabs, right? Controlling his head, establishes lead foot dominance. And even though he doesn't land that shot, beautiful. Just beautiful work there. Boom. Does he shuffle forward? No, he doesn't. And controls his head after he misses the shot, right? Controls his head so he can't land any offense. Just beautiful boxing, you know. He could probably do like a little more setup of his punches. Oh, there he goes. He gets his first warning. I haven't seen this far into the video yet, guys, so I think we're going to do one more round after this. But giving him some good angles. What goes on right there? Uh-oh. Controls his head, tries to take an angle. You know, very Vasily Lomachenko-like right there. Sorry, I got distracted. My roommate texted me. But it doesn't really make anything happen. I think, you know, his opponent's punch kind of throws him off, but no big deal. Very patient. look at all the pressure and duress that his opponent's on. Like, he's making him think so much. Beautiful boxing. And again, you know, doesn't have to commit to the punches like super well. I don't even know if that was a punch right there, that one. Because he misses the first one. I think he just controls his opponent's head with that. I don't think it's a punch. I think his opponent just runs his head into it. But controls his head and then lands another shot while moving off the line. Not bad right there too. Boom. Lands the body shot. And then smothers his opponent's work. Look at how he lands the punch. Beautiful, man. Lands the punch. And then immediately gets to moves his arm onto his opponent so he can continue controlling him, smothering the distance after landing a shot and getting his head down so that he doesn't take return fire. You know, great defense, you know, from a fighter who's being so aggressive from the start of this, right, putting on a lot of pressure. You wouldn't really expect the highlight of this round to be his defense, you know, but it really is. Showing a beautiful ability to control his opponent after putting himself out of position. You know, again, goes low and then sets him up for that uppercut. And I think I'm not sure if he lands it to the body and then controls his head after and turns. Beautiful work. Did he land that other punch right there? Boom. And then lands another great right hand after controlling his head and pivoting. You know, very athletic, very talented guy for sure. Kind of eats a jab right there. And getting a little excessive with the head control. A little bit. The referee warning him right there. Let's see if there are any highlights of the round. Oh, yeah, here we go. But, yeah, beautiful. So he's on the line, right? See how their feet are right in front of each other? Throws that body shot and then moves off the line. His opponent kind of moves back too, right? And then just completely out of position. And after throwing that shot, he's able to like kind of use his weight transfer to shift his hips back and take a step back. You know, great body mechanics. All around looking like a really talented fighter. Oh, and then he kind of, that's that shot that he kind of walks into. Because remember, he was throwing the body shot to set up the uppercut, and his opponent kind of reads it this time and is able to, oh, he didn't block that fucking left hook. He just gets, I'm not sure. We'll have to watch that in regular slow-mo. Man, I can't really tell. The frames are skipping. It looks like his glove gets in front of it. It does, but he does wind up getting caught by that right hand. You know, and that's the problem with like craft like that. And I want to interject my little speech about it real quick. When you have craft like that, like you explode out of your guard so you can set up other punches. You open yourself up to punches like this, you know, opportunities for your opponent to counter you. And that's why I prefer the probing jab, right? Make your opponent respond to the jab first so that he puts himself out of position, even though he lands this body shot. And he has the opportunity to, you know, use it as a trap later and give him like a leaping left hook or whatever. Or even if he catches him with the uppercut, he still eats this shot right here. And that's not the position that you want to find yourself in when you're setting traps for your opponent. That's why I prefer like Sergey Kovalev's trap setting. If you watch the video of round 2 of Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward, when he's probing with that jab and he gets Andre Ward to react first, and that's the trap, right? He gets Andre Ward to react first, try to counter with his right hand, and then he just sinks a right hand right into his face. Beautiful boxing from Kovalev in that instance. And those kind of traps are much more, they're much better. You know, they're much more consistent. They're much more difficult for your opponent to work off of. And I'll talk about it a little more at the end of this. I'm going to do one more round with this kid Galahad. It does look like that punch lands. But I don't know why I'm having such a hard time telling. Nah, it looks like his glove is on it. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys, let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? The video is so much more clear on YouTube than it is right here. But this kid, I like this kid, man. He's got great deep. Oh, yeah. That's, is that Dominic Ingle? Is that his name? I'm not sure. But that's Kell Brook's trainer, right? Yeah, I like this kid, man. He's a good fighter. He's got a good future ahead of him. Again, controlling his opponent with the jab. And just look at these, like, little pity-pat punches, right? Just keeping busy, keeping his opponent's mind occupied. And then beautiful, right? So he's giving him these feints and then makes his opponent go first, right? And that's his opportunity. That's the trap, right? You make your opponent go first. Like if you were just standing in front of your opponent and your opponent threw an overhand right, he's completely out of position. And this is exactly what using probing punches, fake pity-pat punches does, is you make your opponent open up first so then you can counter him. And I'm not sure if he does right here. Oh yeah. Tries to counter him with the jab over the top. Whoa! And then his opponent comes back with a two-piece, right? But misses that shot too. But that's exactly what you want in your traps, And I'll do a better video on traps for you, bro. I fucking can't remember what your name was in the comments, but I was thinking about doing let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing this. I've got punch mitts and I've got gloves, and I was thinking about getting a camcorder or like a video recorder. So that I can, make actual boxing videos of myself and maybe my friend, teach him some stuff about boxing. But you'd get to see everything that I teach him about boxing on camera, and I could teach him how to set traps and how to throw punches and whatever. Let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing some boxing tutorials, and maybe I'll get into that. I don't have a camcorder or anything, so it's not, not the easiest thing to just start doing, but anyway. In there, being active, but not using his lead hand right here, and almost gets, it does get clipped, doesn't he? It's really close, it's not a power shot either way, but one thing that Vasily Lomachenko does that this guy's not doing, and it's, what a terrible bother to be compared to a Vasily Lomachenko, but he should be honored, is using the angles, using the head movement, right, and the hip movement, right, to create more openings and to give your opponent more different looks, right? Because by this point, his opponent is kind of getting used to it, to the hand feints and not taking them as seriously. And these are the opportunities where he should be, let's go back. These are the opportunities that he should be using that jab, right? But also, his opponent is looking to counter them, right? So more feints, more probes. That's what he should be doing. And making his opponent react first rather than still going first. Because as you can see, he is reacting to the jabs, right? So what he should do right here, if it was a proper trap, see that he dips down like that and catch him with a counter, right? Maybe he was waiting for it there. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, moving on. This kid has some real skills. I'm a big fan, for sure. Controlling his head. So, lands that beautiful shot, controls his head. A little much, it's a little bit much. Not bad right there. Touches gloves with him again. Fuck, I missed the frame. So, touches gloves with him again, and then goes right under it and lands a great body shot. And then, what does he do right after the body shot? Brings his right hand back up and controls his opponent. Touches him with a little jab. Beautiful boxing. Touches gloves with him. Touches gloves with him. Oh, and his opponent's ready. He's ready. He's waiting for that shot to come. And clever. Instead, just goes right over the jab instead of touching gloves with him again. Again, another way to set a trap, right? Rather than countering the little rhythm that you set with your jab, touching him with the jab, and then countering him with the right hand or the left hand or your power hand in the back, just faking it and going over the top with another jab. Definitely some skills. Again, the same thing. Touch glove and then go over, land him with another shot. Boom. Again, very, I like him. I like it. I think, he could do a little, he could do a little more with his offense and his, upper body movement, getting his opponent out of position. Slips that shot, come in under. Not bad. And then the same uppercut. That's a really interesting technique, that he's using that a lot. Boom. I wonder how much he trains that, like that specific muscle movement. But this is why you don't want to be going first, right? Putting the pressure on and gets his opponent to go first and is able to counter him pretty easily. I like his activity. I like his defense. His defense is just really good. controlling his opponent a lot. He's very physical with his opponent, which is very good. It'll serve him very well when he's fighting like a bigger puncher. And I would say that he would do pretty well against punchers, against the more exciting fighters. Maybe like fighting somebody like Tank Davis. Although Tank Davis is a big fucking puncher, man, and he's looked way better in his fights more recently than he did in his first few. Like, he's really evolved as a fighter. I don't actually know what this kid's weight class is, so maybe Tank Davis is way out of his weight class too. But I love that too, you know. Shows him the jab, and then boom, catches him with another shot, then comes over the top. And does he control him after? Yes. And then gets his forearm. I'm like stumbling over my words. I just realized I'm about to get off of work right now. But after he lands the shot, he smothers him and gets his forearm on him again. And then kind of like a little pity-patter punch on his way out. Yeah, I see like a lot of Kell Brook in him, you know, a lot. And I really like that. I think that, you know, Kell Brook is a good fighter. I think that, you know, this guy, I think he's a little better than Kell Brook. You know, I like the switch hitting. I think it's cool. It's fancy. It's good for a good fan base. When I was young and I was watching boxing a lot, I was a big fan of Junior Witter, the switch hitter. Being the fact that I'm left-handed and I fight right-handed and I switch in my fighting too. I'm a big fan of those kind of fighters myself. But man, just piecing him up now. So let's start actually looking at some of this. Did his opponent turn southpaw too? What the fuck is he doing? I like that. Good counter. Sees that his opponent is about to throw a jab. And I wonder what he sees in his opponent, in his rhythm and his timing, that he knows that jab is going to come, and he just counters it beautifully. But good timing from him so far. Good reaction. He trusts himself. Throwing a lot of punches. Oh, man, that was nice. Boom. And as he lands that shot, he steps over. Whoops. And creates a new angle. You know, that's something that I'm a big fan of, by the way. Lands that shot. What position is he in when he throws that? So he's fighting orthodox. Lands that shot. Smothers him, and now all of a sudden, oh no, yeah, he's still orthodox, but on the completely other side of his body. Great pivoting. Oh man, that was beautiful. So works his way in with the jab. Boom. Steps forward with the jab. After the first jab, he controls his opponent. Lands the right hand. Moves his leg forward and shifts. After he lands that shot, controls his opponent. Ducks what could be another shot while controlling his opponent on his head, and then lands another shot. And then right after that, beautiful boxing. Controls his opponent. And notice how he controls him in that instance, right? Boom, shift, control, boom, shift, right? And he shifts again, and he controls his opponent's head. And look at how that punch barely misses him. You know, just beautiful. And that's a shot that probably would have hit him if he wasn't controlling his opponent. If he wasn't on that arm, that's a shot that would have hit him. You know, beautiful defense, great shifting in between stances. You know, I'm a big fan of this guy. I like him. I think he has a long way to go, and he's really lucky to be as far advanced in his skills as he is for how young he is. Great control, and this is like inside fighting, man. This is beautiful. Controlling his head, boom. Control him again, creating space with his forearm right there, and then giving him a two-piece. And I love how he does this. Throws that shot, and then immediately, because you're not going to be able to get your hips back into place and throw another punch, your hips are already there, controls his head, you know. He's tapping him with the jab, right? But controlling him so he's not able to throw a punch back, you know, and he doesn't have to, you know, transition himself. You know, really good fighter. Definitely a really good fighter. I think he has a long way to go. Or his career, he's going to have a long career for sure. But I'm actually all out of time. It's like almost 12 o'clock. Oh, perfect. But anyway, Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, his offense could use a little work. His defense is superb. I like that he's really active in his guard. I like that he's really active with his lead hand and his backhand. He's transitioning, like moving a lot, creating. Oh, right there. That's the part that I was talking about. Oh, just beautiful. Great footwork. Great understanding of positioning. He could work a little bit on his offense and setting his punches up a little bit, just figuring out new and clever ways to get his opponent out of position so that he's not in as much a risk. But we'll see how he develops. You know, as for fighting like Guillermo Rigondeaux at the moment, maybe a little green, but it would still be a very, very fun fight as long as he had the chin to stand up to Rigo's first two big left hands. But I give this guy, I give him a solid B for sure, and I'm like on the fence on whether it's like B+, you know. He's a good fighter. This kid, he's got a long, bright career ahead of him. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about him in the comments and about the breakdown, everything that I missed, if you think that little hook landed, and also if you'd like to see some boxing tutorials with me and my friend, probably my friend Dan. Maybe I get some cute girls to do it. They always wanted to learn boxing and stuff. Maybe they'd be interested in doing it for my boxing channel. But let me know what you guys think, and if you'd like to see some boxing tutorials. And you know, I could use some film too, but I would teach you guys how to, like, you know, set up your punches with, you know, real commentary and real whatever. I don't know. Just toying with the idea. Let me know what you guys think.